Alright, welcome to essentially the second part of that skull dimensions video. Now that we have the idea of the dimensions of a human skull, um, we're looking at targets that are good to use to practice for getting your hits consistent and on target for the human head, because when we're dealing with zombies, the only sure way to stop a zombie is to destroy the brain, which means shoot them in the head. Um, Now, in doing this, you can the targets you want to use could be of any size as long as you have it clearly marked off, like dimensions of the human head on it. Like if you have a silhouette target, the head of the silhouette target would be what you're aiming for. Um, if you have just a large piece of paper that's rectangular, going for the uh, drawing a circle or doing something to mark off um, essentially a human head will be helpful. I recommend smaller targets for practicing this way. Um, Smaller targets tend to be cheaper, and the entire target itself can, for the most part, represent just the human head. When you get better at hitting the target where you want to hit it, getting tighter groupings, etc., then you can move on to like the bigger, cooler, so quote unquote silhouette targets, where you have essentially a full body, so to speak, and aiming at the head to hit it at different ranges at different speeds. But to practice to hone in on, you're going to want to use cheaper targets. So what we have here is just a center hole target. Um, I like these targets. They're cheap. And pretty much the rectangular black area, if you hit somewhere in there, there's a good chance you just hit the human head. Now, the closer you get to the first white ring right there, the better. And especially if you get the white circle, the solid white circle, that's where you really want to be for consistent headshots to a zombie, no matter at any range. Um, Now, this is different from shooting competitively or different from just shooting to bullseye and just better yourself. Of course, I'm always a big fan of accuracy. Um, it's fun to hit the bullseye as best you can. But what we're looking for in shooting zombies isn't the 100% accuracy of hitting right on that bullseye. As long as you hit somewhere in the human head, it's going to go down. As long as you hit that brain case, and chances are you will. Um, so taking a minute or two to get that for each shot is not necessary, and it's dangerous against zombies. We're looking for the ability to essentially not rapid fire, but shoot quick enough to defend yourself against approaching zombies. Without going too fast as to sacrifice accuracy, because we are aiming for a relatively small portion of the entire human body. So, like I said, with this target, if you hold it up to your head, essentially the black rectangular area, for the most part, now the extreme corners and edges will be misses in terms of hitting the human head. But if you're on that black target, the black paper area of the rectangle, you're doing good. Just bring it tighter to at least get to the first ring around the first white ring. And then you're pretty much hitting the head. Now, of course, we all want to go and hit bullseye, so doing that, training for that is nice. But remember what I said, we're talking about grouping and hitting consistent shots on the human head. You're not going to get bonus points in killing off a zombie because you hit him right between the eyes, for example. So, as long as you hit that, you're good. Now, if you're on a real budget, let's say, or you just want to keep buying targets, a good cheap alternative is paper plates. And paper plates come in a variety of sizes, like a dinner plate style size plate here, two smaller ones like the one on top of it. You can get them cheap, and that's important. So it may be more cost effective for you to train doing it this way. What you can do is you can put a sticker on there on the plate in the center, or color it in with like a marker or paint or whatever. Use tape, whatever you want to do to mark center mass of the paper plate to give you a bead to draw on, so to speak. And hit that. And what you could do once you get consistent with that is move to a smaller plate, because if you're hitting the smaller plate, you're going to be hitting the head, aiming to hit that. With the bigger plate, as long as you hit inside the lip of the plate, like the closest center mass, the pretty much better chance of hitting the head, so to speak. Of course, the plate isn't a perfect representation of a human head. It's a little bit bigger that around, but when you start hitting towards the center of it, you're going to be hitting the human head. Now what you could do is you can get they sell like sticker targets that you can put on targets. Usually put them on targets to put it over the bullet holes, so you essentially have a fresh target on the same target you're using. You can put one of those on the big plate to represent the smaller plate, for example, or you could tape or glue the smaller plate on. It may not work that well with sustaining its integrity after being shot by multiple bullets. Or what you could do, if you want to get a little bit more creative with it and take a little bit more time to do it, is you get all your paper plates. You get one small paper plate, put it where you want it, and I would suggest somewhere up of center like I have here, and then lightly mist the large paper plate with a spray can. When you take the small paper plate off, you'll have a clean circle to represent where the paper plate was, and that can also help you give you just a visual representation of where you're hitting with regards to the upper area where the smaller plate was. And the whole idea of the smaller plate, that represents pretty much like I guess quote unquote a perfect shot into the nasal cavity or up into the brain. But again, if you were to hold a large paper plate up to your face, a good central mass hit will be a kill shot on a zombie. And if you don't want to waste paper plates, you can even just use standard printer paper. Put a little X or something in the center of it with like a red permanent marker or whatever, or mark it in certain areas, and then hone in on that, and that can help you for targeting the dimensions of a human head just as easily. Again, these are just cheap ways to practice because when practicing, especially let's say you're a new shooter, you're a novice shooter just getting into it, or you're just a little rusty because you haven't shot in a while, these are cheap ways. You don't have to waste the quote-unquote cool-looking targets with sloppy hits, so to speak. And especially if you're shooting independently, not part of a club that supplies targets every so often, you want to save money on targets because you want to have more money to use on other things aside from shooting, or ammunition, or for caring for your gun, and so on and so forth. And targets are like a necessity, and the cheaper we can keep it, the better. So this is just something to help you all in terms of dealing with the zombie. These are good representations of hitting the human head, and that's the name of the game against zombies for zombie survival. So whether or not you've been shooting for a while, you're a novice shooter, this is what I would suggest doing in training yourself, or practicing is a better word, practicing shooting at a target the size of the human head for zombie survival. That's pretty much it. So remember, the name of the game in zombie survival is preparation. Be prepared, have a plan, and be safe. Take care.